catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound box. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Double Podcast. Today is Tuesday, July 3rd at 10:30 a.m. It is an early one for the Triple Double Podcast, but we are excited nonetheless. As always, I'm Eddie Fitzgerald.
I'm Cam McKee.
I'm Hunter Nicely.
And, oh boy, the summer has started. July 1st has come. Best time in any NBA fan's life, unless you're not a fan of the Warriors. In which case, this summer has kind of sucked for you because regardless of what your team has done,
they're not going to beat the Warriors.
They won't beat the Warriors. So we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to hit you guys with our thoughts on Boogie Cousins, basically sounding off on the league. We're going to talk about LeBron James making Le Decision Part 2. Going to decide to join the Lakers. Part 3, I guess, yeah. Going back to Cleveland is another big decision. And we're going to talk about Paul George, Kawhi Leonard a little bit, even though most of that stuff has already been said. But nonetheless, and we will give you our thoughts on the 2018 NBA Draft, as well as our thoughts on some of the Summer League games that have already taken place and some of the rookies who might, start to be better. But with that being said, we're going to jump right in. Boogie Cousins, last night kind of shocked the world. It was really tough to, kind of fathom. I was just, watching some, Tuesday Night Baseball, Boston Red Sox and
Washington Nationals.
Washington Nationals.
Great game by Porcello last night. Very happy. But this is not an MLB podcast.
This is not an MLB podcast. It's a Triple Double Podcast. But the ticker came across that the Warriors, I saw the Warriors odds went up, and then they gave something about Cousins, and I was like, no, he didn't. I shot up out of my chair and freaked out, and Twitter was in a storm last night. The Golden State Warriors used their mid-level exception to sign Cousins on a 1-year, $5.3 million prove-it deal for Cousins. And fellas, do you think that this was more of a stunt by, who are you more angry with? Are you more angry with DeMarcus Cousins, or are you more angry with the Warriors for going with...
I'm more angry with DeMarcus Cousins.
And why is that?
All right, so I saw this last night, and I was with my girlfriend. I stopped paying attention to her because I just, you just can't. DeMarcus Cousins signed with the Warriors for the mid-level exception. You can't keep paying attention to other things. And initially, I was really upset. And I took a while. I was like, you know what? I'm going to think about it. I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to come here, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm still upset about it, to be blunt with you. I don't blame the Warriors because, the Warriors are just maybe the smartest team ever. They have 5 All-Stars in their starting lineup right now. But if you're Boogie, even back when KD signed, there's just, where's the competitiveness, Without Boogie, hell, without Kevin Durant, they'd probably still win the NBA Finals. Maybe not against the Celtics, but with the second best player in the world and a top 3 center in the world.
He's the best center in the league when he's healthy.
And
I would argue. This is coming from a Joel Embiid fan that DeMarcus Cousins is the best center in the NBA, hands down.
Well, I'm not mad at anybody, honestly. I think the Warriors did everything in their right. It's just hilarious. They used a mid-level exception on an all-star. Yeah. That's insane, but they can do that. I'm personally a supporter of the luxury tax because I'm a fan of a big market team. If I was a fan of a small market team, I'd say we want a hard cap, no more of this luxury tax. It's not working. Stuff like this is still going on, still happening. But I think the Warriors had every right to sign him. Cousins had every right to sign with them. He had no other significant offers. So I think you got to look at yourself, all the other teams, and say, what have we created? All we had to do was offer him a little bit more than that. He might have signed with us.
I think the main issue, from what I've read, is that Boogie was upset with the offers that he was receiving because of his injury.
Yeah.
And that this was his way of basically being like, okay, screw you guys. I'm going to go win a championship, prove that I'm still the same player, leave Golden State next year, because he's not going to want to sign for the mid-level exception.
I imagine this is his only year.
This is definitely
he just wants the ring. And
he wants the ring, and he wants to be able to prove to everybody that he's still the same player that he was. And if he's not the same player that he was, then at least he still gets a ring. And to me, that is, it's kind of scummy, but at the same time, again, it's not like you can't stop it. It's 100% legal. What's happening though is we're starting to take a dive into, it's not like loopholes, but it's just like there's a lack of feeling the need to be competitive. And we're going to get into this in the LeBron James segment, but, LeBron had better supporting cast that he could have signed with. And he went to LA that didn't have the best supporting cast for him to go and win a championship. It was more of a lifestyle decision for him. So the fact that these NBA stars are starting to realize that there's no chance in beating a super team, that they're just going to go to the best, biggest market with the nicest beach. I believe it was said in season 5 of Game of Zones, that whenever Paul George leaves at the very end, he's like, I've accepted that I will always lose to the Warriors, but at least the Lakers have a beach. So it's like, it's happening.
Except for Paul George, because he stayed in
Except for
Oklahoma
Paul
City.
George. So the Game of Zones didn't necessarily get that right. However, I think that it should be duly noted that these stars are starting to take note that the organizations just aren't as cunning as the Warriors. Once a super team is created, it's dominant. And, the Warriors, they have the championship on lock for at least the next 3 or 4 years. So, KD signed a 2-year deal. He re-signed.
What's with all this buzz about him going to the Knicks? This is coming out all of a sudden. He just signed this contract, and now I'm hearing, there's major trending that KD will go to the Knicks.
KD will go to the Knicks, and isn't it a 1+1 deal where he gets a player option next year? So
of course it is. He's the second best
it's always
player in
a
the world.
1+1. Yeah, I mean LeBron's getting that 3+1.
Well, I'm going to talk about that when we get to LeBron.
All right,
I have a big theory about that.
So now, from more of a basketball standpoint, how do you think that this impacts a locker room, a culture? Because we know what Boogie is capable of on the court. But off the court, he causes a lot of issues. He is, been known to yell at coaches, yell at teammates, even while playing games. So this head case that comes into the locker room, he might throw off this Golden State rhythm a little bit. I could easily see Boogie giving up a foul, him getting upset, getting a technical, Draymond getting upset, yelling at Boogie, and Boogie and Draymond just start going at it because these are both two big personalities who might not be able to play in the same arena.
But Draymond Green on any other team is getting a technical every night. This team is different. Steve Kerr is a different coach.
Exactly, yeah.
This is why he's, they've when this whole signing came out, everyone was sending videos of Draymond and Boogie going at it. And now they're loving it. They're like, welcome to the team. Steph Curry saying the third Splash brother is here. Sorry, KD. You're just not quite in the brotherhood. But Boogie Cousins is here. He's ready. I think this is the best place he could have gone because the environment is so different there. They yell at refs. They get technicals. They all do it, which is not okay, but they all get away with it. And it's not just he's going to come in there and do something that hasn't been done. They're already yelling at each other at the court. But that's because they know that in the end they're all going to win together and it's going to feel amazing.
I think Golden State has a pretty relaxed culture where Steve Kerr kind of gives his players a lot of freedom to do really whatever they want to do.
They let him coach the game.
He let Andre Iguodala coach a game basically. I think just the fit's gonna work really well. I mean, I think everybody's gonna get along. The regular season's not gonna matter for them whatsoever. They're not really gonna be serious until playoff time.
Yeah, I don't like. It could be a little rough at the beginning, definitely. But any new team that comes together and adds another person will always be rough. This kind of also impacts the lineup of death, where they can play
Hampton's
Draymond at
five.
the 5.
They got the Hampton 6 now.
Yeah. But
yeah,
now,
so Iguodala's kind of pushed out now.
Iguodala
of
is
that
definitely pushed out.
I think that's a new death lineup. I think Iguodala is no longer part of that.
But now they can't really go small anymore because you're now going to want to play Boogie 25 minutes a game. They're not going to rush him. I doubt that he starts the season.
Oh no,
They're going to coast it. They'll probably bring it back
yeah.
after the All-Star break.
Probably,
yeah.
yeah.
But this team could easily win 75, 80 games.
but they're not going to.
But they're not going to. They're just
Because
going
they
to
don't
coast.
care.
They're gonna
They'll
coast
be-
and they're gonna win 60.
They're going to win 60. They'll be like a 3rd seed, and they'll just coast to the. They could sweep the whole playoffs.
The only thing
They
that
could go 82-0.
They could
I mean,
honestly, they could go 82.
if they actually
Boogie's healthy.
if everyone's healthy and they actually tried every night,
Yeah.
they could go 82-0.
the only thing that worries me just a little bit about this team
Which is not true, actually. I'm just saying
is
that.
their defensive potential with Steph Curry and Boogie Cousins on the floor at the same time. So you have
That's
obviously
fair.
you obviously have 3 really really good defenders in Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green out there, but we watched throughout the entire playoffs this past season. Every team just went directly at Steph Curry. Every possession. It was whoever offense on Steph
LeBron
Curry.
in the finals was just like he kept trying to get the switch.
Yeah.
He would just call over George Hill to set the screen to get the switch every single play.
So the only thing that really worries me about it is I mean, if it's a pick and roll with Steph Curry, DeMarcus Cousins.
You can't stop that.
Well, I mean defensively.
I was like,
Offensively.
How do you stop that?
You're
Because
not
you
gonna
can't-
Who
stop
cares
them.
how many points they give up a game because they're
They're
just
gonna
going to
just
score
outscore
more.
you.
They're gonna outscore them on that same play.
But no, listen, I see your point.
That's
but
the only
this-
thing that I have a slight worry. I
Okay,
imagine they're just
but-
gonna run through people, but
Do you remember who their center was last season? JaVale McGee, Zaza Pachulia. This is
true.
not a center's game anymore.
it's true.
He's not a liability on defense because centers aren't the main point anymore.
But that's because they didn't have to, because they could play
I mean,
Zaza, they could play JaVale McGee.
They didn't really play them in
15 minutes a game.
They didn't
I
really
know,
play
but-
them in the playoffs. So it was
Zaza
mostly
didn't play at
It was
all.
mostly Looney, who's at least a decent defender.
I'm just saying, that'll be a hurt, but that's nowhere near
I don't think it's gonna
any
affect them.
negative. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
gonna come.
nobody's gonna be able to stop them.
It's just not a center's game anymore. and
Maybe the
centers
Utah
aren't the
Jazz
star
have a
of the
slight
show.
chance of slowing down their offense, but that's about it.
No, it's I mean, I don't even know. You need a team of Giannis Antetokounmpos to be able to guard the Warriors. The pick and pop, the pick and roll from Curry and Cousins
Oh my gosh.
would be unbelievable.
You
'Cause
can't stop it.
because they could hit a shot from anywhere. DeMarcus Cousins can post up any player in the
Anybody.
league.
It doesn't matter who it is. He can post up
And-
anybody.
Steph Curry's quick enough to get around any big man. And now if you're charging and you try to bring a double onto Curry as he's driving, now you've kicked it out to Klay Thompson or Kevin Durant or Draymond Green
pick
who are
your,
going to
pick
hit
your
a shot.
poison. Which good
Literally,
three-point shooter do you want to take it?
You can't lose on offense. You literally just have to hope that they miss shots.
And
All
that's
right.
their only chance.
So
Breaking news: Tyronn Lue has been officially promoted to head coach after the departure of LeBron James.
which is a perfect
congrats to
segue
him.
into our next segment, which is LeBron James has decided to officially leave the Cleveland Cavaliers for the second time. But this time, he has left them with some hardware. So we will see whether or not that pays off, as he has signed a 4-year or a 3+1 deal with a player option if he decides to opt in for that 4th year for $154 million, I believe.
Yeah, right around there.
Right around
I know this is not a baseball podcast, but if you know anything about baseball, Chris Davis, player for the Orioles, absolutely horrendous, hitting 100 this year, is going to make $161 million in 4 years. And then, so that just tells you,
That tells you. We're going back to the baseball podcast, man.
know.
But this is not a baseball podcast. This is Triple podcast. We are, my initial thoughts on this signing were, man, like I said earlier, I think it's a lifestyle decision for Braun that he gets to live out his NBA dream of playing in the big lights of LA, wearing that Lakers jersey, entering in Staples Arena, and he gets to, cruise out and eventually play with his son.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
To me, that's the key. It's a family decision. It's like when I was looking and reading through, they had an interview with an anonymous friend of LeBron who was at the Decision Cave. The Decision Cave. And he said that LeBron's main decision was focused on being family-oriented, and it was focused on if he was going to leave Cleveland, it would have to be like a dream. And like being in LA, being that next big Lakers superstar is, all that any future NBA prospect would want to be. Which is why you see Paul George and Kawhi Leonard wanting to eventually get their jerseys retired up into the rafters of the Staples Center. And I think that while it's not the best, like, he moved from a C supporting cast in Cleveland to like a B minus supporting cast in Los Angeles, and their big signings now that LeBron has signed of Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, and Rajon Rondo.
It was a race. It looked like they were going to sign half the NBA after LeBron signed, because there was just one after another.
JaVale, the big stars.
Lance, then JaVale.
The stars are all starting to come over.
Imagine like 5 years ago if this happened. This would be huge.
However, one major thing that should be noted is that there now has to be a new king in the East. But the East is now left without an all-NBA first-teamer.
No, Joakim Noah.
Most recent.
It's the most recent all-NBA first-teamer.
He finished like fourth in MVP voting like 4 or 5 years ago.
All right,
no one cares about Joakim Noah.
I'm saying, like, as of this year,
oh, it's bad.
There's no all-NBA first-teamer in the East. Like, it boggles my mind that there's such a lack of parity and like in the league alone with the Warriors, but the West to East divide now has just become
it's outrageous. The only teams that have any chance to compete in the East are the Celtics, the Sixers, and maybe someday the Bucks. That's it right now.
The Raptors,
maybe.
LeBron's out of the East. They don't need to choke.
They're still gonna choke.
They'll find a way.
They'll find a way. It's the Raptors. But who is the new king in the East? Who is the best player in the Eastern Conference in your guys' opinion?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I believe it's
Giannis. Skip Bayless tweeted that Joel Embiid is the best player in the East.
And then Giannis, that's just a death sentence. Skip Bayless is the kiss of death when it comes to any type of,
Giannis has already had back-to-back really, really good seasons.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on their Brad Stevens dream lineup of just switching absolutely everything, being awesome on defense, Giannis killing everybody on offense, and it just has not happened yet.
Yeah.
So, but Mike Budenholzer is their new coach, so maybe that can help out a little bit.
Giannis is still so young. It's just hard to say that he's the
But
best player
24?
in the entire conference.
It might be Kyrie.
He's
without
been in the league for 5 years.
Without injury, it's Kyrie, but it's Giannis. Giannis is the best player.
I think they're like neck and neck right now. Yeah, it's close.
5 year. Giannis, I think, is ready to take that next step in his career. Like I just said, he's been in the league for 5 years, drafted in 2013, which seems almost like yesterday.
It doesn't seem like he's been here for that long.
It doesn't seem like he's been in the NBA for that long. However, his brother just got drafted as well, Costas.
Yeah, to Philly.
Yes, he did. But we'll see how that goes. But back to now that LeBron has left the East and sort of the shattered. What do you see for LeBron in LA? Like, what is their future? Like, not only this year, but like for the next couple of seasons. He's got 3+1.
This is the best time to talk about it. So, as people have caught up on very quickly, LeBron, by the time his contract would be up, is when Bronny James Jr. will be coming into the league. He's already said out loud that he wants to play with his son. This could mean massive, and I mean massive, epic things that have, like, tanking that has never been seen before in that draft. It doesn't care if Bronny James Jr. is a late second-round pick. If they get LeBron, he will go in the lottery. If LeBron says, I will sign to the team that drafts my son. This will be tanking of epic proportions.
I'd rather see LeBron go against his son.
It'll be trades of epic proportions. Whatever team gets the number 1 pick, so many offers will be fielded in.
Rob Perez said it perfectly. He was like, people won't even be getting off the bus. They're like, we want to forfeit first. We want to make sure that we're the first team to forfeit. We're like, we forfeit, but we want to be the first team to forfeit. There's going to be tanking of epic proportions if LeBron is still healthy at this time and he's still playing well. This could mean devastation to the league for that year.
Oh man.
It's
very interesting.
I think that, you're taking a look at the roster of the Los Angeles Lakers. You're looking at, it's still a team of a lot of young guys, but it's a team that definitely needs a playmaker. Like, Lonzo's a decent playmaker, and he probably goes up in scoring. He probably goes up to like 15 and 9. Probably points and assist-wise. He still probably shoots like crap because that's just the way that he is. But you'll probably see him a lot more out with the second unit trying to make those guys better, whereas LeBron will sort of take the first unit. I'm really excited that if they don't end up trading for Kawhi, which is what we'll get into a little bit, I think that Brandon Ingram needs that playmaker on his team, like a LeBron James, to really sort of take that next step. He's a decent defender. He's a good rebounder. He just needs to take that step up and get an NBA body.
He had a really nice second year. He averaged 16 points a game this past season.
He started to take that next step. I don't think that he's a franchise cornerstone like people once thought that he was, but I think
he's a solid player.
I think that he's
a good B player.
His ceiling is a good second or third option on a championship roster. I don't understand how he could be a marquee player on a championship roster. However, if he gets traded to San Antonio, this point is all moot, and Kawhi is just
one of the funniest parts. Again, that was brought up. They re-signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope right after this. Clutch Sports guy, LeBron's agency. This dude couldn't even leave L.A. They couldn't leave the state of California, and this dude LeBron, unprecedented power. He's like, this guy's under investigation. He's like, sign him. Give him whatever he wants. $40 million.
Is he still under house arrest?
No, I think he's good now. Good. But that's insane. This power that LeBron has is never been seen before.
I think you're overstating this power. They're re-signing Caldwell Pope. Who
would you sign a guy back that was under house arrest during the NBA season?
For the first 3 months of the season, he wasn't allowed to play away games unless it was the Clippers or the Kings.
You're saying that Rondo, Stevenson, and McGee is like a great free agent haul.
Oh no, they're not. They're not a great free agent haul.
It's like you're acting like he has this.
I'm not saying he's making every transaction. They definitely check it with him though.
Oh no.
But I'm saying with Caldwell Pope, he said, if I sign, you got to re-sign KCP. That was what he said.
I feel like, but that's not a championship move.
I don't think he cares about a championship. He knows he's not winning this next year.
That's the thing. I think it's crazy to see because I think this most of this decision, if he felt that he had a legitimate chance to beat the Golden State Warriors, I don't think he would have left Cleveland. If he felt there was a legitimate chance that they could acquire maybe another superstar, or if he just thought he could beat the Golden State Warriors, I don't think he goes to LA. And I think I
completely agree.
By him going to LA, he's almost accepted that, at least in the next couple of years, they're most likely probably going to be out in the first or second round. They might make a conference finals, but there's no way that they're beating Golden State.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think that mostly that this was a lifestyle decision. I'll say it again.
He wants to be a billionaire.
He wants to be a billionaire. Wants to own his own team. He wants to work with Magic on how to get into the front office side. Definitely. And I think that Magic is doing a great job sort of starting to try and bring in those stars and work on it. However, I think that mostly the idea that they won't be able to bring in another superstar is a very likely possibility. I think that they might be able to get Kawhi next season if he doesn't get traded to a different team, like the Celtics, like the Sixers. But other than that, like, who else are they gonna go after? They can't, like, what? I think Paul George not signing with them is a major indicator that stars don't necessarily want to play with LeBron anymore. That, like, we saw it with, when they, like, because he could have built any team that he wanted in 2014. He could have built any team.
It could have been anybody, yeah.
It could have been anybody, and like,
But now that we saw Kyrie Irving request a trade, and just if you just look at the culture on the Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, it wasn't good this last couple of years. Maybe the first 2 years they were there, it was fine, but like especially after Game 1, on the bench, that video was released when LeBron asked if they had any timeouts left, and I mean he lost his mind, and everybody else was just sitting there. I think Chetty Osman was trying to calm LeBron down, but you know how that's gonna go.
Chetty Osman said it was very nice. He gave a very nice goodbye to LeBron.
Did he?
I think he could really turn into something only because he just played with.
I love Chetty
one of the
Osman.
best of all time.
I think
because,
Chetty Osman's a
that
really nice player.
helped him out. He's really become like a little player because LeBron was there and like mentored him a little bit.
I think he's gonna have a good season. Like I think he's gonna average 10, 15 points this year.
What are your guys' thoughts on LeBron, though? How will these two start to work together?
I think signing Rondo. I almost feel like it's kind of like when LeBron came back to Cleveland the first time. It almost makes how he didn't mention, or he basically didn't want Andrew Wiggins. He basically didn't want Deion Waiters. And I almost get the same kind of feel that he doesn't really want Lonzo Ball. They signed Rondo. I mean, how are they going to split playing time between Rondo and Ball? Obviously Ball has a potential torn meniscus at the moment. We don't know if that's true or if that's just so he doesn't get traded. Nobody's really sure at the moment. But I'm not sure how it's going to work because, I mean, Lonzo needs the ball in his hands, just like LeBron, or else, Lonzo's shot at the moment is not good enough to be playing off ball, or at least off ball a lot. LeBron has mentioned recently that he would possibly want to play off ball more, but with this team, you kind of can't at the moment. Yeah. He's not, and maybe if Kawhi comes, then he could probably play off ball a lot more. But Kawhi is also a great off ball player as well. So
it's a tough call. Cam, what are your thoughts on the idea of LeBron playing together?
Yeah, I think he wants Lonzo. I think he feels pretty good about what Lonzo does because he wants the shot like that. Lonzo just passes the ball. Lonzo's fine not taking the shots. That was kind of J.R. Smith's problem is he doesn't know when to pass and when to shoot. He wants guys that are. I think that's honestly why that's kind of the reason they're signing these guys. Like the meme team is what it's been dubbed. Yeah. Those guys will just follow him.
Yeah,
and they'll just do what he says. And
if you kind of look at it too, like Rondo is not a passing, or he is not a scoring guard. He's always been a passing guard. Mm-hmm. Lance Stevenson is kind of a passing guard. He doesn't, light up the stat sheet by getting buckets.
Yeah, but that was the issue in Cleveland.
I know. I'm just saying.
Nobody could hit a shot.
LeBron's just going for 60 a game. Yeah. I think that's what's happening.
Plus Lonzo just passes. I mean, they have three guards now that are just very passive players, and even LeBron's a fairly passive player unless he just wants to dominate.
Yep, I think that this is a good time to sort of switch over to our next segment, which is the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard fiascos that have been going on. Paul George kind of took the NBA by storm, re-signing with the Oklahoma City Thunder on was it a 2+1 deal or was it a 3+1 deal?
I think it was a 3+1 deal.
Yeah, it was a few years. Yeah.
Yes, as my cat decides to join in on the matter, I think that Paul George definitely re-signing with the Oklahoma City Thunder is, kind of huge for the Thunder. It's huge for Russell Westbrook, first of all.
Oh, definitely.
The fact that he could keep a superstar on his team. I think that this is a wait out Carmelo Anthony contract.
Yeah, 4-year max contract.
4-year max contract, so it was a 3+1. It's let's wait out Carmelo Anthony this year. The team definitely won't re-sign him because he sucks.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And then you try to attract a marquee free agent next year. So you could be looking
they'll have the cap, which is crazy.
Because they'll have the cap for another max player. So you're looking at possibly, Klay Thompson, Boogie Cousins.
That would be interesting. Boogie Cousins with Russ with PG.
And
although they already have Steven Adams, but
they had the Stash Bros, so they had basically two players playing center before.
Yeah.
Before Cancer left and decided to be a meme in New York City. I definitely think though that this is a great move for Paul George to not join the LA circus. I feel like as soon as that team loses 3 games in a row, the media will swarm them and be like, are they really cut out for a championship? Because that's what happens to every single super team. That's what happens to every single LeBron team that he goes on. So sort of being that under the radar, joining Russ again, and having that ability to sort of gain a little bit more flexibility, because he could still always go to LA, because the beach will always be there. But that chance for possibly a championship with a player who's the first player ever to average a triple-double in a season, although I don't think
2 in a row.
2 in a row. The first player to back-to-back seasons is what I mean. I think that that's something that you can't pass up on, although I don't think that Russ will ever win a championship with the way that he plays. But we will see, and hopefully they can prove me wrong and beat this super team out in the Bay Area. What are your guys' thoughts on the whole Paul George staying? What is what does it mean?
I think it's definitely the right decision for Paul George. I'm really happy he stayed in OKC because I think it's his best situation to be in. If he had the option to go to LA. Not everybody, but most people thought he was going to go to LA. He has shown interest in the last 2 years that he wanted to go to LA. But he ended up staying in OKC, and I think it's really good because once Carmelo's gone, I think this team is going to flourish. I think they're going to be a top team in the West. I don't know if they're going to ever win a championship, but whenever Russ and PG play without Carmelo Anthony, they had I think it was the second best plus minus in the entire league when Carmelo was not on the floor.
They're gonna buy him out, and he's gonna sign with the Lakers.
$27 million is a lot to buy out in 1 year, but I would hope so because I just want to see. Carmelo was so bad.
This is not a baseball podcast.
This is not a baseball podcast.
Carmelo might be. He's one of the worst players in the NBA.
Hands down.
He's one of the worst players in the league.
But if you sign him for the veterans minimum,
no,
he's the best you can get.
You
for
can't.
the
He
veterans
can't
minimum.
play defense.
He still holds your team.
He's the worst defender in the NBA, and he's not efficient on offense. He brings that whole team down.
Shots, that's your move.
In the Utah Jazz series with Carmelo Anthony on the floor, they were a -60. When he wasn't on the floor, they were a +35.
As he slams his pen down onto the table.
It's so frustrating because Carmelo is so bad. Russ and PG are so good. And Carmelo literally breaks them down that much. A 95-point difference when Carmelo Anthony was on the floor, on and off the floor. It's crazy.
I definitely think that there is something to be said about that type of play from Carmelo Anthony. I think that this is also a major, basketball decision from the Thunder's standpoint. Sam Presti, I think it kind of sets a precedent that, if a player says that they want to play with a certain team and another team trades for them, that there's a great opportunity that you can be able to pitch, which is why I think that if we shift over to the Kawhi Leonard section, that any team that could trade for Kawhi's been very loyal. I think that you take a look. He stayed. I forget where he went to college, but he got offers from UCLA. But he went to
San Diego State.
He went to San Diego State because they offered him his full ride scholarship first, before anybody else. And there's definitely that sense of loyalty in Kawhi Leonard's system. I think that loyalty was just destroyed by the San Antonio Spurs. In case you guys have been living under a rock for the past 2 months, Kawhi has been asked to be traded. I think that Kawhi definitely could fit on any team that he goes on just because of his off-ball and his two-way abilities. With that being said, I hope that the Philadelphia 76ers eventually just trade for him soon. I think that he would fit well on the Sixers regardless of his health situation. I think that, this is a guy who is a top 5 NBA player. He's always up there for MVP voting. He's always up there for Defensive Player of the Year voting. The fact that you could put him out there, and he's basically an upgraded version of Robert Covington, where he could shut down a LeBron James, he could shut down a Kevin Durant as you look to push and become the new kings of the East. You move Jared Bayless's contract, and now you have now you have room again to sign another max contract. So you could possibly, I don't know if Clay will ever leave or if he'll do a Kevin Durant pay cut situation. But you could possibly be looking at a Philadelphia 76ers team next season heading into 2020 of you have Ben Simmons at your point guard, you have Klay Thompson at your shooting guard, you have Kawhi Leonard at your small forward, you have probably Sarge is gone in that deal, but you'll have some power forward type deal, maybe Zaire Smith if he works out, and Joel Embiid at your center position. So hopefully, the Celtics have also been in the mix. Cam's shaking his head at me right now. What is your idealistic situation?
I don't see him staying after a year. I think if Philly gets him, it's a 1-year rental. He is so, from everything, he is so set on LA. I get Philly's a big market too, but Philly doesn't have a beach. They
close to a beach.
Yeah, close, but not quite the same. I just I had a point. I'm sorry, I can't think of it right now. Oh, so what I'm hearing, what the Spurs want from Philly is a king's ransom. I would call for Danny Ainge's head if he gave up what the Spurs are asking right now from Philly.
The Spurs want a lot.
They're asking for 3 first-round picks. They're asking for 2 players. I would never do that. The Brooklyn Nets, does that ring a bell to anybody? Anybody remember them? They were the team that gave away 3 first-round picks.
If any team's gonna do it, the Celtics would be in by far the best position to do it because they have plenty of picks. But I agree. I don't think they should.
I know he won't stay, so it's a 1-year rental. If the only way I would take it is if they give up, they'd have to give up the Kings pick, which I can live with. I could deal with getting with Brown because he's it looks like he's hitting his ceiling, honestly. He's kind of hitting what he's going to become. And I'd give up another player. That's it. I wouldn't.
I think that as we get closer to the trade deadline, that the offer will start to go down.
But I would not give up that much for him. So for 1 year. It's a 1-year rental.
Right now, I think comfortably. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. The thing was, for me, I wanted a Kawhi deal to happen sooner rather than later for the Sixers because LeBron was still on the market. So that, if you signed Kawhi, or if you traded for Kawhi and you signed LeBron, and, you give up Dario Saric, Covington, Zaire Smith, and the Heat pick and maybe your own pick, you're looking at upgrading Saric and Covington for the price of getting LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard. Now, I'm not sure whether that's the move. We've re-signed J.J. Redick, so we'll see how this goes. I think that Kawhi definitely will be traded sooner rather than later, but I don't know to what team.
See, I disagree. I actually think Kawhi has a good chance to not be traded because the San Antonio Spurs are stubborn, and LaMarcus Aldridge asked for a trade last year. And they didn't trade him, and it worked out well for them because LaMarcus Aldridge was second-team All-NBA this year. But I think the Spurs still think that they have a shot at keeping Kawhi even past this year. And I think if they do trade him, I don't think it's going to be until we get into the season, probably closer to the All-Star break. I think it's if they would trade him. But I do have a question for you guys. If you were Kawhi, how would you feel if you were Kawhi based off of all the things that have been said from the Spurs, all the things that his camp has said, how would you guys personally feel if you were Kawhi?
I think that if I'm Kawhi, I'm like, I'm definitely upset at the Spurs because, he has every right to be for the way that they have sort of treated him this year and sort of like given up on their best player in his eyes. I think that he definitely wants to be the man somewhere. I think that he wants to be in a big market. I think that LA is probably where he'll end up next season if the Spurs don't trade him. But the Spurs are only incentivized to trade Kawhi. Like, why lose him for nothing when you can get something in return and you can swindle a team? I think all the reports, though, coming out about teams that have been interested in Kawhi are solely the Spurs leaking information to try and make it seem like there's a market for Kawhi when there really isn't. Like they said that if the Lakers traded for Kawhi, LeBron James would be there for sure. Like they said that the Sixers, the Sixers would have a really great opportunity to re-sign Kawhi if they ended up trading for him. Like I think those reports are all just leaks from San Antonio that are trying to like convince the Sixers that are like, okay, I think that there's a chance that he'll re-sign. But on the whole, I think that that's just
I don't think anybody's gonna give up what the Spurs are asking at the moment.
No, I don't think
it's just
so
too
either.
much.
It definitely is just
I think they
way
have
too
the right
much.
to ask for that much, then, but that doesn't mean
It doesn't
people
mean
should agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, they can. I mean, they can ask for whatever they want, but it just doesn't mean that they're gonna get it. But if I was Kawhi Leonard too, I would be completely. There's no way I would refuse to play for the San Antonio Spurs this year if I was Kawhi Leonard, after being disrespected from Greg Popovich, from the doctors, from Tony Parker. He was misdiagnosed with his injury, I believe, twice now, which has really held him out for a long time. And I'd feel so disrespected, and I could never return to that team. And I think this is the biggest mistake that San Antonio's ever made, and they've just handled the situation so poorly. And it honestly blows my mind that they've just the way they've handled it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that definitely this is a poor situation on the whole for both teams, for both parties, Kawhi and the Spurs being the other. Definitely don't think that this can be repaired anytime soon. And with that, I think everything that's been said about Kawhi and Paul George has already been said. So we're going to shift over to a little bit of hope because the NBA draft seems to bring hope to all the bad teams and to hopefully bring in a new era of basketball where Boogie Cousins doesn't sign for $5.3 million. First of all, I think we would both like to congratulate Cam on his excellent draft knowledge as he finished with the best mock draft.
Still not a great mock draft.
Still not a great mock draft, but then again, you never know what's going to happen on draft night. I didn't see Michael Porter Jr. falling all the way.
I didn't think he was going to fall to 14. I think that it's definitely huge that the Nuggets, like, they definitely probably weren't going to get a game changer at 14, but the risk with Michael Porter Jr. at 14 I think
super low.
For a team like the Nuggets, I think it was really, really worth it.
You could get that star wing, the pair with Jokic, and now you got Barton, you got Gary Harris, you got Jamal Murray, you got shooters out the wazoo.
This could work out.
It could definitely work out for Michael Porter Jr. So now that this tune has kind of changed, what are your guys' biggest takeaways from the draft? Who do you think has sort of made out like bandits? Who do you think sort of maybe stretch for a guy? Who do you think just really didn't do their due diligence on draft night?
I think there was one really, really big stretch, and I think this team had arguably the worst draft, and that's the Los Angeles Clippers. They took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I'm not a fan of. I don't think he's going to be good in the league. I don't think he has much of an offensive ability. And they also took Jerome Robinson, and I think they really, really reached on Jerome Robinson. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a crafty guard. I believe he led the ACC in scoring, or top 2 or 3 in scoring this year. And he almost led Boston College, who didn't really have anybody else, to the NCAA tournament. But I don't think they had to pick him at 13. I felt 13 was way too high. I felt like they could have dropped back to at least 20 to pick him. And even if they don't get him, I mean, there were just so many good players drafted after him. You know, there was Zaire Smith. There was MPJ. There was Lonnie Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, Kevin Huerta,
I
Grayson
can't believe
Allen.
they took Jerome Robinson
Aaron
over
Holiday.
Michael
There were
Porter
so
Jr.
many guys. I feel like they
They-
could have gotten him much later.
I think that definitely over Michael Porter Jr. When you had 2 opportunities to take him, you have that low risk opportunity
Exactly.
to get the next big LA superstar out of the draft. You have the ability to draft the next Blake Griffin for your team.
And plus, they traded up too.
Not play style, but as in terms of like star power.
The Clippers traded up 1 spot to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
It like
where I don't think he was even going to be drafted there anyways. I feel like the Hornets were still going to take Miles Bridges regardless, and I feel like the Hornets just played the Clippers.
the Hornets definitely just played the Clippers. They were looking for a point guard. Before the draft, I saw that they were very interested in Colin Sexton, and that the Cavaliers took him mostly because they thought that if LeBron re-signed, they could use Sexton in a Kemba Walker trade, but that obviously isn't going to happen anymore. I think that definitely one of the biggest losers out of the night has to be the Clippers. I think that one of the biggest losers has to be the Atlanta Hawks. I think that the trade that they made with the Dallas Mavericks, the Dallas just like
They fleeced him.
they fleeced them. You know, you're looking at Luka Doncic. Like, if you are the team at 3, you take the best player that you see available, and like whether
Especially in their situation.
in their situation, I think that, and if they thought that Trae Young was the best player available, then I think that they really need to reevaluate what they consider to be the best player available. If you're looking at, you know, you have DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley off the board, but you still have Jaren Jackson. You have Mo Bamba. You have Luka Doncic. 3 players who I would highly consider taking above Trae Young. And you traded
Up. They traded up.
Well,
Or excuse me, they traded
they
down.
traded
technically.
down to draft Trae Young, which is a better situation than just picking him at 3. However, you had the best guard available in this draft, and you didn't take him. You have a guy who can play 1 through 3. But Trae Young is undersized, can only play the point guard, and if his shooting doesn't work out in the NBA, if he gets bodied too often, if he gets defended well enough because he's so undersized, then he doesn't work out. To me, you pick the best player available, and you know, to me that's it's a stretch, and I think that, you know, kind of going back to a little bit of the Clippers situation, where they traded up to get, they stayed put to get the guy that they wanted in Jerome Robinson. I think you could sort of have a Cleveland Browns syndrome where you wanted one guy, you had 2 picks, you figured you could trade back to get the guy that you wanted, cough cough Denzel Ward, but then you ended up picking him way too early because you couldn't find a suitable trade partner. And I think that, you know, Trae Young for a first-round pick, you know, I don't think that first-round pick's going to amount to anything because I think the Mavericks, after they signed DeAndre Jordan as well, you know, it's definitely a major L in Atlanta. But who knows? Maybe Trae Young is the next Steph Curry. I highly doubt it. But, you know, good. You know, more power to you. I think a winner definitely is the Dallas Mavericks for being able to get Luka Doncic, another big European player. You know, sort of have that mentorship under Dirk. I think that Doncic has already started to sort of take in his own NBA-like stardom very well. You know, he's starting to recruit a little bit, actually. He did a good job at picking up DeAndre Jordan and bringing him over. I don't think that puts him in a title spot, but I think that just shows the power that Doncic has. I'm very excited to see what he does. I think the Suns definitely had a great draft as well. DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Elie Okobo, George King. I think those first 3 names that I mentioned were fantastic. Cam, what are your thoughts on the overall NBA draft? I think that the Celtics definitely lucked out with their pick of getting Robert Williams at, what was it, like 24?
Yeah, they it was,
27.
27.
27. Yeah, I'm very happy with the Celtics selection. There is no winners and losers until you actually see them on the court. So I'm not going to speak on that. But yeah, the Suns did a good job. Dallas only had one. They picked Jalen Brunson in the second round. That's pretty smart.
I like Jalen Brunson.
I guess you can give them that. But on Boston's standpoint, I'm very happy with that pick. Robert Williams looks like he's going to turn it around. He knows very well what his problem is. And he knows
Sleeping in.
Yeah, I'll get there. So, it's like I'm very happy with this pick. This dude is exactly what we need. We need a tough center. We were looking at Boogie. Apparently, we didn't offer him anything. That just came through on my phone. But by the time we were looking into him, he was a Warrior. But that's all right. I think Robert Williams in a few years could really be good. We've great young core if he can fit in well. Brad Stevens always knows how to get the best out of his guys. So hopefully he can do the same with Williams. But his biggest problem is the dude needs an alarm clock. I would if I was in the Celtics organization, I would hire someone to wake him up every morning. This dude has missed his press conference for introduction, and he missed his flight to get to practice. He said he ran, according to sources, he ran home to grab a few things, and he just missed his flight back. And that is absolutely insane. It happened once, okay. It happened during the night after the draft. Okay, he was with his family, having a good time, sleeps in. It happens. But now it has happened twice. And now he had a dilemma getting to Boston. And that's just like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That can't be okay. Listen, this is all I'm saying out here. I am irate about this. Because all you have to do is just show up to here. We just signed Brad Wanamaker from he's in the European League. Robert Williams better watch out because I know Brad Wanamaker is going to make it to practice on time.
Oh my gosh.
Vegas Summer League starts on July 6th.
Yeah, but the EuroLeague's not like the NCAA.
We have now until July 6th to get Robert Williams to Las Vegas. Can it be done?
If he does, he's got 3 days.
I don't think so. I don't think it can happen.
It's mission impossible. We'll see if we can get Robert Williams over there.
I'm very excited about it. Got to get him an alarm clock.
Hunter, the Heat, man, their draft fantastic. They really knocked it out of the park.
You know what, Eddie? We're an up and coming team. We've got some pieces.
Up and coming by not adding anybody.
We got some pieces. Justice Winslow had a really, really nice season once he was healthy. We have the clutchest player in the last couple of years of Kelly Olynyk. But
I'm hearing Semi Ojeleye is getting comparisons to Kelly Olynyk.
But Semi Ojeleye is not Kelly. He doesn't have the hair.
That's
sorry.
true.
Doesn't have the locks. But another team who I think had a really, really good draft. 2 teams, actually. One is the New York Knicks, who drafted Kevin Knox, who I think he's really, really good. He reminds me a lot of Tobias Harris. And Tobias Harris, he's not an amazing player, but I think he's a solid B player who could be at least a third option on a great team. And they also picked one of my sleepers, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's an athletic center who was supposed to go to Western Kentucky. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school, and there was a lot of drama there. He ended up not going, and he just worked out for this past season, and he fell to the second round. But I think the Knicks made a really good decision of picking him up. They don't really have the Knicks don't really have a lot at the moment. With Porzingis is hurt, their centers are Enes Kanter, and I believe Joakim Noah is still technically on or did he get cut? I don't, because he got into a fight with Jeff Hornacek, and I don't remember exactly what happened.
I'm pretty sure he's still on the roster.
But I think he's a great pick for them. And the other team who I think had a really good draft was the Portland Trailblazers. They picked up Anthony Simons, and I believe Gary Trent Jr. was traded like 2 or 3 times on draft night. I believe he ended up with the Blazers. I really like Gary Trent Jr. as well. He led the entire NCAA, and it was fast break points per possession. He was the leader in the entire NCAA at Duke University.
Wow, whoa.
Ooh.
All I'm saying, they got him in the second round. He's a great 3-point shooter. He reminds me a lot of Alan Crabb, who they ended up overpaying and trading to the Brooklyn Nets. I think they also had a very underrated draft.
I think that definitely. The Sixers, sort of going back to my team,
Oh,
you know, they definitely mishandled the Mikal Bridges situation. You know, drafting him, keeping him, and then trading him.
And interviewing him with his
and
mom.
then interviewing him with his mom, who also works on the team, who's a hometown kid, who it would have been a perfect fit. And then, it was definitely very mishandled. However, Zaire Smith, he looks to be all right. Brett Brown compared him to Kawhi Leonard.
Disagree.
So
Strongly.
we will see how that goes. Landry Shamet, I think, was an excellent pick. He's a guy out of Wichita State who I think can hit a 3-point shot.
Out of the league in a year.
Out of the league in a year.
He's got at least like 2 years because
And
he's
then,
the first
He
round
looks
pick,
like he's
so.
like 40 years old already.
He
I mean,
does.
what
He's got the pedo stash. But
Eddie, I don't mean to burst your bubble here, but I think the Sixers they screwed up. I think they really, really screwed up on trading Mikal Bridges.
we will see if Mikal really pans out again.
But I think Bridges lucked out and it got put in what looks
I think
like
he
to be a
got put
great
into
situation.
I think he
soon
definitely
to be
got
in
put into a
Phoenix.
better situation. If you're counting like going to a young team and sort of building that next culture, I think Bridges is getting sort of thrown in there off the bench in Philadelphia, and that might work for some rookies, but I think that Mikal Bridges is a fighter. He's a scrapper, and he definitely wants to be a starting forward on a basketball team. But we will see. Shifting over to a little bit of summer league action, Marvin Bagley appears to start taking these summer league rookies and journeymen by storm, sort of bullying his way out. He had a great dunk
Over
on
Mo Wagner.
Mo Wagner in their game against the Lakers.
Rest in peace, Mo Wagner. Another guy I like.
Yes, I think that definitely this draft was loaded. I will say. I think it's going to be one of the better draft classes. It's not going to end up like 2013 or,
No, I
the Kwame
think
Brown year.
I don't think this one has like quite as much star power, like just overall like
But it's gonna
superstars.
be
But
good
I
for
think
the league
there's
to
a lot of
bring
just
in,
good players.
A lot of good players. And I think there's a lot of great potential. And I think that definitely we will see how this year pans out. We all know how it's going to end, but we will see some of the better storylines from these rookies.
Hey,
before the
Miami
year's
picked
over.
up Duncan Robinson of Michigan.
I was watching that. He missed a big 3 last night.
It doesn't matter. He's young. Or he's not. He is 24, but he's
Doesn't matter. He missed the
24.
big three.
He's the
Doesn't
He's
matter.
the oldest rookie in the draft, and he's like, oh, he's a young guy.
He's still young.
He's still young.
He's
Hey,
still young.
hey, he got picked up. Hopefully he makes the roster. Hey, who knows? Duncan Robinson, maybe the next Steve Novak.
Yes, and we will see whether or not Marcin Gortat in his new
Oh.
home becomes the
Defensive player of the
defensive
year.
player
He
of
went
the
to the
year.
Clippers, who had the worst draft out of any team, I
This
think.
is gonna be a page turner for Marcin
Page-
Gortat.
The
Hey,
Polish
he's got
hammer.
Doc Rivers now. He doesn't have to deal with John Wall anymore. They've got a solid team. They got good defenders around him too.
Offensive player of the year this year.
They have Patrick Beverly, who should be coming back from injury. Avery Bradley, another good defender. Marcin Gortat, underrated, should be the defensive player of the year. And on the hottest take
On
of
the
all
hottest
time.
take of all time.
I think it's interesting.
Hey, where's Wayne Ellington going, buddy?
Well, with that being said, this is sort of concluded our 2017-2018 season on the Triple Double Podcast. The next time you'll be hearing from us, you'll be seeing our 2018-2019 team previews, where we'll sort of break down each other's drafts in each individual team, sort of like we did last year. But this has been a great first year. Thank you all for sticking with us. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video if you're still here. It means a lot to us so that way we can be the best Triple Double podcast that we can be. With that being said, this has been the Triple Double Podcast. I'm Eddie Fitzgerald.
I'm Cam McKee.
I'm Hunter Nicely.
And have a great day, everybody.